Lucas heel had built his life on instinct. In courtrooms, instincts kept men free or locked away. In negotiations, they told him when to push and when to retreat. They were the quiet voice behind each his decisions, the internal compass trusted for nearly 2 decades. That Thursday evening in November, as each his car rode through the city streets beneath a sky bruised with dusk, Lucas wished desperately that each his instincts were wrong. The business trip to Austin had ended early. A deposition cancelled, a flight rescheduled, a rare pocket of time unexpectedly returned to him. He hadn't told Natalia. That was the point. 7 years of marriage deserved des surprises, didn't it? Flowers, a quiet jeans, a reminder that beneath deadlines and school lunches and endless responsibility, they were still something worth celebrating. Richie's phone vibrated at a red light. An unknown number. He almost ignored it. The message contained no words, just a photograph. Natalia. Her blonde hair was unmistakable, loose over her shoulders, the same way she wore it when she didn't expect to be seen. She was stepping through revolving glass doors, left frozen on her face. Her hand rested lightly on the arm of the man beside her. The man Lucas knew immediately. Itankra, her husband. The Grand Meridian at a lower gleamed herb of Terem in polished gold. For a moment, time stalled. The city noise faded. Lucas stared at the image as if she could bend reality into something harmless. A misunderstanding. A coincidence. A batting girl. But it is instinct the same one that had warned him before witnesses lied ordeal soured and silent. Silence was worse than alarm. He drove. The city blurred into a tunnel of lights and asphalt. IH's hand shook on the steering wheel, knuckles whitening as he gripped harder than necessary. Every mile felt like a countdown. Hope and dread wrestled in IH's chest, but dread was winning. The Grand Meridian stood pristine and indifferent against the twilight sky. Lucas parked, stepped out, and felt the cold air beat IH's lungs like punishment. Inside, the lobby smelled of polished marble and pensive perfume. Everything about the place screamed discretion. Room 847. The elevator ride was torture. Each floor chimed so swiftly, magging him. 7, 8. He barely felt the carpet beneath his shoes when the doors opened. A thief from an old law school variant now at the management had placed a card in Lucia's pocket. He hadn't wanted to see it. He slid it through the lock. Click. The door opened. The room was warm. Intimate. Lit bewile lampues that cast honeyed shadows against triumph-colored walls. A king's bed dominated the space. Natalia sat on its edge. She wore the red dress. The one Lucas bought her last Christmas after she'd mentioned it, almost offendedly. That red made her feel noticed. Her hair cascaded freely, framing her face. She looked relaxed. Ethan stood near the window, city lights glittering behind him. 2 glasses of wine rested on the nightstand. An open bottle breathed between them. They were laughing. Not political laughter. Not awkward small talk. Real laughter. Shared history laughter. The sound died the instant Lucas stepped inside. Natalia's face drained of color as if someone had pulled a plug. Her wine glass slipped from her fingers, hitting the bed and spilling deep red across white cyanugly, symbolic stain. Lucas got Lucas. This isn't too odd. Richie's voice startled even him. Come. Controlled. Courtroom come. Ethan shifted uncomfortably, lifting Richie's hand slightly. Listen, man. Don't take. Lucas didn't look at him. Don't say a word to it. Natalia was already moving toward him, transforming fast, like he had been rehearsed. Please, just let me explain to it. Explain. Lucas echoed swiftly. We were just talking, she rushed. Catching up, yet hands going through 8 hours. He needed someone. That's all this is. I swear. Lucas glanced at the wine. The lighting. The bed. At a hotel, he said, voice tightening. In a room, with wine and dim lights, her mouth opened, closed. How long, Natalia? Nothing is going on, she insisted, desperation cracking her tone. I love you. I love our family. Think about Lily. Think about our daughter. She needs both four parents to. Lily. The name hit him like a blow to the ribs. 5 years old. Blondie hair like hormat hairs. Brown eyes like witches. Probably curled up at Ichi's Matker's house right now, cowering or watching cartoons. Say, onruer, Lucas naditslali. You're right, he said. Relief flashed across Natalie's face. I am thinking about Lilith. Ichi's composure fractured just now for truth to sleep through. I'm thinking about how many nights you've worked late this past 6 months. How you missed her parent at your conference. How you skipped her dance recital because you had a migraine. Natalie's lips trembled. I'm thinking about how our daughter keeps asking WH when Mommy doesn't want to play with her anymore. Natalie's face crumbled completely. That's not fair, Ted. Fear? Lucas lived. The sound hollow. You want to talk about fear? He stepped back towards the door. He'll be home in 1 hour. I suggest you're gonna be attentive. He turned and walked out. He didn't look back. Lucas's drive home was silent, but inside, every nerve burned. The city light streaked past his windshield like a warped arrow. He gripped the steering wheel so tightly Ichi's knuckles threatened to crack, yet Ichi's mind was unnervingly precise. Years of litigation had trained him for crisis. Separate the facts from the noise, he told himself. Facts first, emotion later. The Victorian Enoch Hills, their home, rose in the darkness like a monument to a life he thought he knew. The sewing set in the baker glimmered under the porch light. The same sewing set it built one summer weekend with Natalie's help. Lily's butterfly paintings, taped haphazardly to the refrigerator, seemed to stare at him accusatorily, innocent witnesses to the unraveling of their family. Step by methodical step, Lucas moved through the house. He didn't allow himself to look at the family photographs. He didn't touch the framed anniversary photos. He didn't want nostalgia to dilute the cold, sharp clarity of Ichi's purpose. In the attic, there smelled of cedar and dust, of childhood secrets and old projects. He pulled out suitcases, carefully selected, sturdy black with wheels worn from years of travel. Each item he packed from Natalie's wardrobe was deliberate. He moved with the precision of a surgeon. Designer dresses, jackets he had barely worn, shoes that had accumulated dust on their heels, delicate jewelry that gleamed under the each single light. Each item was a memory, now evidence. He appended her nightstand, which is immediately fell upon the box he had passed countless times with or without. Jewelry, trinkets, but hidden among the rings and chains were at the receipts, which his chest tightened as he rifled through a room. Not one, not two, dozens. 8 months' worth. Grand Meridian, Riverside Inn, Parkside Suites, local establishments where she had claimed to be working late or having dinner with her sister. The receipts were meticulous, dates perfectly aligned with nights she had emergency sister, which is stomach churned as he stacked therein. Every receipt was a betrayal, a physical confirmation of lies whispered in casual tones at dinner tables. Ichi's phone buzzed violently. Messages, several in rapid succession. Please answer me. I'm coming home. We need to talk to you. This is a huge misunderstanding to you. Think about what you're doing to our family. Blake means nothing to me. IT was a mistake. The last message, IT was a mistake, made him pause. Past tense. Something had happened. Something undeniably physical. Lucas typed one response. Don't come to the house tonight. Your things will be in the garage. You discuss custody arrangements through a lower story. The reply came instantly. Custody. Lucas, you can't take Lily from me too. He didn't answer. He didn't need to. Instead, he moved to Lily's room, a sanctuary untouched by a dull deception. Princess posters are down the walls. Stuffed animals lined the shelves like silent soldiers. A small bookshelf displayed books he and Natalie had read to her countless times. He began picking carefully. Pajamas with unicorns, a faded baby blanket, the daguerreotyped copy of Goodnight Moon. Each item wrapped in memory and care, a tethered to innocence he would protect at all costs. Ichi's phone rang again. Blake, against Ichi's better judgment, he answered. Lucas, you need to know, Blake said, voice tight. Thanks, guilty. Natalie pursued this, not me. She contacted me 6 months ago. Said she was feeling tripped, missed the excitement. I was too beaten off to listen. Luchas, jaw clenched. Why are you telling me this? Because, moje jefe, Claire, thinks you should know through the about who you're married to. Natalie's been messaging her, disparaging you. Think you're boring, that you will let years through good. Lucas felt a cold weight sit through in his chest. She saw yours, Blake. Good luck with that. Blake hesitated. I told her tonight IT was over. I'm trying to fix things with Claire. Natalia, she didn't take IT well. She thought I was leaving a MOI for her. Lucas hung up. He sat on Lila's bed, her small hands and tiny feet staring up at him in silent accusation, which is her cricket open, not from pity, but from a for years, arching clarity. She felt the weight of her betrayal in every fiber of her. 8 months of lies, Atel stays, Latinic to be rights, whispered excuses, misdirected attention. 8 months of Natalie removing herself from the lie she had promised to nurture. Hours later, Natalie arrived at the house. 2:08 a.m. Her unallowing word. The locks had changed there. Her knock was frantic, voice hoarse, screaming through a wood and darkness. Lucas, please, let me in. I need to explain. He opened the door just enough to see her. She was disheveled, mask strict, hair moist, swelled with panic. This was not the current past woman he married. This was Samona in reveling. You are things in the garage, he said evenly. I don't want more things, she pleaded. I want to talk to my husband too. I am your husband. I am protesting Lily too. She tried to push past him, but he stood firm. Blamant excuses stumbled from her lips like a waterfall. Blake manipulated me. I'm not lying. I didn't. Stop. Lucas caught her out sharply. Stop lying. I'm not your audience anymore. He held up the receipts, statements. The evidence of deception made it loosely gathered. Atel stays. Credit card transactions. Lingerie bought with no regard to his fairness. Latinic dinner she cleaned to her. Worked. Uber ride she had disguised as errands. Her way shifted through every shade of human emotion. Shock, fear, anger, calculation. Okay, she whispered finally. Yes, Blake and I reconnected. But IT was still just physical. IT didn't mean anything. You and I, we grew apart. I felt invisible. Lucas lived bitterly. Invisible. While I worked nights to pay for this house, little school, and everything you wanted. While I showed up, time and again, and you ignored your own daughter. Her silence was answering enough. You asked last week if I still loved her. He continued, voice breaking. Our VVR doubt asked if her matter loved her. And I had to lie. Do you understand that? Her lip quivered. She opened her mouth, closed it again. I am not keeping her from you, Lucas said so swiftly. But I am keeping her from being hurt. Lily deserves stability. She deserves a parent who shows up. You can't will not be that parent tonight. Her voice, on the spirit, turned venomous. You work 60 hours a week. Who's going to take care of her? Eve already made arrangements. Margaret will keep her safe. She screamed, faintly human beneath the fury. You're a train crew hour married over one mistake. Lucia's ace hardened. 8 months of mistakes, Natalia. Not vantig. In the quiet aftermath, Lucas felt something strong. Relief. Not happiness. Not triumph. But clarity. She had separated love from loyalty, deceit from protection. He had become the anchor in a storm of selfishness. The night ended not with reconciliation, but with understanding. Protection over possession, truth over comfort, a care duty over a if's betrayal. And for the first time, Lucas slept knowing he had acted not in rage, but in moral certainty. Lucas Hill didn't anticipate who would become as an expected ally in the chaos of betrayal. IT wasn't a family member error. IT wasn't a friend. IT was Melissa Krö, Blakaesi Hife. She reached out to him with an elegance that concealed foreign pain. Their meeting was scheduled at a quiet cafe downtown, a place far removed from the glare of the city and the gossiping case of neighbors. Marlies arrived there precisely on time. Her black coat brushing the edge of the table. She slid into the seat opposite him without preamble, her coffee untouched. Lucas noticed the tension in her jaw, the flicker of apprehension behind her green eyes. She exhaled slowly before speaking, as if gathering courage. "I want you to have this," she said, sliding a manila folder toward him. Inside were meticulously organized documents, text messages, phone logs, hotel security footage. Dates aligned with the receipts he had found at home. Each page was a confirmation of the web of deception he had already begun to piece together, but seeing it from a third party someone outside his family did a jarring clarity. Lucas flipped through the first set of messages. Natalie's words were intimate, manipulative, calculated. Not mere flirtation, but plotting. She had marked his dedication to Lily, called him weak, for priorities in KJ's doubt, and orchestrated the affair with Blake with astonishing precision. Melissa's voice cut through H.'s mounting fury. "Blake thought she loved him. You thought you had a faithful wife. The truth is, Natalie only loves herself." Lucas clenched to H.'s fists, striving to contain the surge of emotion. Anger, betrayal, relief, all intertwined into a complicated knot in H.'s chest. He looked up at Marlies. "Thank you," he said quietly. "I needed some more adjective to confirm what I suspected, but seeing Katie, it's devastating to." Marlies nodded. Her eyes were glossy but resolute. "Blake and I are in counseling now. Isn't H.'s mistakes completely. But seeing you with messages about you, it's unsociable. She viewed her own child as an inconvenience, and you as a prop in her story. Not a partner, not a father. Protect that little girl." Lucas stood. The weight of responsibility pressed down on him more than any anger or grief. Lily, H.A.'s daughter, innocence itself, wrapped up in a small, every-year-old body who trusted the word to her parents. He would not fail her, not even in the face of H.A.'s Ife's betrayals. When he returned home, the house was dark. He carried the folder with him, clutching it carefully on the dining table. He didn't need to glance at the receipts or texts again, they had already seared themselves into H.'s memory. Tonight, which H.'s focus was Lily. Her bedroom was small, warm, and quiet. The nightlight cast faint stars across the ceiling. Soft luminescence illuminating the princess posters and the yellow stuffed animals. She was curled under her blanket, a tiny arm wrapped round her nickel and plush. Lucas watched her sleep for a long moment, the weight of H.'s newfound knowledge pressing against H.'s chest. Every smile, every lie, every bedtime story shared now took on a new dimension. They were not just memories, they were evidence of presence, of love, of fidelity he had upshot when Natalia had vouched. H.'s phone buzzed. "It was Natalia. I know Marlies met with you. Whatever she gave you, it's out of context." The message read. Lucas stared at the screen. Part of him wanted to respond, wanted to defend himself from her accusations, but he didn't. H.'s fingers hovered above the keyboard. Ken he typed slowly. "You took yourself from Lily a long time ago. I'm just making it official. See you in court." The message was called clinical, but unnecessary. He didn't need to explain the betrayal. The evidence spoke for itself. For the next several days, he focused on preparation, law consultations, organizing documents, detailed timelines of Natalia's absences and discrepancies. The mundane administrative work of proving a pattern of neglect and manipulation became essential. Every receipt, every hotel stay, every text message was catalogued. Evidence was shot and soured in the battle that lay ahead. He allowed himself brief moments of grief, usually late at night after Lily had fallen asleep, when the adrenaline of confrontation had subsided. He walked the house, running H.'s fingers over the railings, imagining a future where H.'s daughter was safe, even if it meant he had to be firm and unyielding. Melissa's assistance proved invaluable. She had retained all communications with Blake and had documented every interaction. Security footage from the hotels, timestamps, call logs, and even emails corroborated the story Lucas had painstakingly reconstructed from the receipts. Each piece was a dagger piercing the facade of Natalia's claims, every truth a layer stripped from the veneer she had carefully maintained. As the coward daughter approached, Lucas felt a surprising clarity. The months of deception had been brutal, but they had also given him a rare insight into human behavior. How разрисован could rationalize selfishness, manipulate perception, and prioritize the desire over duty. He had learned to remain detached, methodical, and precise as coherent in courtrooms better polite now to protect what mattered most. The day of the mediation arrived there. Natalie Erpert vis her lover, Gerald Westbrook, a man vis a reputation for aggressive tactics and emotional manipulation. He had prepared to cast Lucas as an absentee father, highlighting hours spent at the office, the sacrifices made for work, as evidence that he was less present than the matter. Lucas remained calm past, silent but alert, letting the evidence speak for itself. Melissa's testimony was compelling. She described the pattern she had observed, the explicit content of the messages, the manipulation behind every encounter with Blake. Witnesses were brought in, teachers who noted Natalie's absence from school events, neighbors who observed Latinic visitors, and even his pediatrician, who documented early signals of stress in the child. When the messages and receipts were laid out, the room fell into a hushed tension. The UDGSSK and the meticulously organized evidence. IT was irrefutable. Every claim Natalie had made to paint herself as a victim was countered by item stamps, receipts, and objective documentation. Lucas felt a sense of vindication, but not triumph. This wasn't about punishing Natalie. This was about safeguarding Lily's future. Her well-being, stability, and happiness were paramount. The mediation concluded with a preliminary custody arrangement. Lucas would have primary physical custody, with Natalie granted supervised visitation, contingent on completing parenting course and therapy sessions. The legal victories were significant, but he understood the larger, emotional victory. He had restored a measure of security for his daughter in the wake of betrayal. Later that evening, Lucas tucked Lily into bed. She clutched her unicorn plush. Her eyes heavy with sleep. "Daddy," she whispered. "Yes, sweetheart." "Is mommy going to be okay?" Lucas kissed her forehead gently, smoothing down her hair. "She's going to work on being better. But you know what? You're going to be just fine. Because no matter what happens, you've got people who love you so much. Like me." Her small arms wrapped round Teach's neck, and for a moment, the chaos of the past months melted away. He breathed in her strawberry shampoo scent, a simple, grounding reminder of what mattered most. The hotel room, the lies, the betrayal, they were all part of a past he could not change. But Lily's trust, her love, and her presence were a responsibility he could uphold with unwavering dedication. And for Lucas Hale, that was enough to keep moving forward. The courtroom smelled of polished wood and authority. Sunlight filtered through the tall windows, catching those models in midair, as if the university was watching the drama unfold. Lucas Hale adjusted Uchi's tie, taking in the space around him. This isn't just a legal proceeding, it was a culmination of months of deception, manipulation, and heartbreak. Emma Morrison sat across the aisle, her designer sweet crisp but her posture tense, shoulders stiff. She had the air of someone trying desperately to maintain control in an environment that refused to be controlled. Beside her, Gerald Westbrook, her lover, whispered counsel, gesturing occasionally to a sheaf of papers. Lucas didn't flinch. He had nothing to fear. His evidence was meticulous, organized, and damning. Every text message, every hotel receipt, every photograph his proof of absence or neglect was catalogued. Judge Rachel Taunton entered, a formidable presence with silver-striated hair and a that could pierce pretense. She carried herself with a quiet authority that immediately silenced the murmurs in the courtroom. Lucas felt a flicker of reassurance. This judge would see the facts. She would see through manipulation and emotion and focus on what truly mattered, the child. "Amir Hale," the judge began, her voice even authoritative. "Let's begin with the primary custody considerations. Please summarize your position." Lucas rose, which is body steady, voice combat resonant. "Your Honor, my position is simple. I am requesting primary physical custody of my daughter, Lily Hale. Over the past 7 months, my wife, Emma Morrison, has engaged in multiple patterns of behavior that demonstrate neglect, deception, and prioritization of her personal duties over our daughter's well-being. He paused to let the weight of each his word sit through. Jemma's face flushed crimson, a mix of indignation and panic. Gerald was with a penitentious mouth, but George Thornton raised a hint, silencing him. I am presenting evidence in three categories: communication logs, documentation of absences, and corroboration from third party witnesses. Lucas Gerald to the folder from release which he had organized with painstaking precision. Text messages show a pattern of deceit, coordinated with another adult, Blake Hoffman. Atel receipts align with these communications, indicating undisclosed overnight stays. Witness statements confirm absentee behavior at school events and extracurricular activities. Video footage and photos corroborate presence or absence during critical family moments. I am not here to value Emma Morrison, but to ensure that Lily receives the stability, attention, and care she requires to. The UDG's gaze was sharp, analytical. MRS Morrison, do you wish to respond? Emma stood, her voice trembling slightly, though she tried to mask it with practiced composure. Your Honor, Luchash's reason is exaggerated. I have made mistakes, yes, but I am still Lily's mother. I have always loved her. I admit there were lapses, but I am committed to her well-being. I ask that the court considers my emotional bond with my child, alongside my parental intent to. Lucha's heart tightened. He understood the instinct to appeal to emotion he knew set it himself in which is online to negotiate outcomes, but here, the evidence was objective, undeniable. The emotional bond was irrelevant if it came at the cost of stability and safety. The court proceeded through witness testimonies. Teacher described Emma's frequent absences from parent-teacher conferences and school events. Pediatric psychologists outlined Lily's signs of stress, anxiety, and confusion during the months of her care gestation. Lucas presented videos and photographs of shared moments he had captured, initially former Maoris, now serving as unsuitable proof of each other's presence and care. Blake Hoffman submitted a sworn affidavit, confirming the physical nature of the offer, but also asserting that Emma had been fully aware of the consequences, deliberately manipulating both men in pursuit of attention and excitement. Marlisa reiterated the messages she had provided, contextualizing the emotional betrayal and the calculated steps Emma had taken to conceal it. Luchas Sterny, Jonathan Crane, organized the presentation meticulously. Your Honor, he said, the evidence paints a clear and consistent pattern. The Mather's choices over the past 8 months demonstrate that she has repeatedly placed personal disregard of parental responsibility. While we acknowledge her biological connection to Lily, the court must prioritize the child's safety, stability, and emotional health too. Judge Thornton listened with measured attention, her pen moving methodically across her notepad. She asked pointed questions, seeking clarity and assessing credibility. Lucas answered with precision, maintaining composure even as he felt the weight of the months of betrayal press against him. Emma's lawyer tried to introduce its own narratives, aiming for asserting her intentions, claiming misinterpretation of communications, arguing for forgiveness and a second chance. Lucas had anticipated every argument. The text messages, receipts, and security footage left little room for misinterpretation. Every claim was neutralized with objective proof. At one point, Lucas Rose entered the court directly, which is voice unwavering. Your Honor, Lily deserves parents who show up, not just in moments of convenience or appearances, but consistently, daily. Over the past 8 months, my wife has failed to demonstrate that consistency. I am not seeking punishment. I am seeking protection. Protection for my daughter. The courtroom was silent. Even Gerald Westbrook remained quiet, momentarily stripped of each usual theatrical presence. Emma's face reflected the downing realization that the carefully constructed defense had crumbled under objective scrutiny. Judge Thornton finally leaned back, her tone deliberate. It is clear that both parents have love for their child, but primary custody must reflect not affection alone, but the consistent demonstration of care, stability, and presence. Evidence presented in this case shows a certain pattern of absence and manipulation by Emma Morrison. Emma Hill has consistently demonstrated the involvement and prioritization necessary for primary physical custody. Accordingly, the court awards primary custody to Emma Hill. Emma Morrison will receive supervised visitation every other weekend, Wie the possibility of modification in 12 months pending completion of parenting course and therapy sessions. A heavy silence fell over the courtroom. Emma's shoulders slumped. Her carefully curated image now diminished to a mixture of anger, shame, and grief. Lucas exhaled, a mix of relief and sour mingling in his chest. This was not victory in the traditional sense. This was justice for Lily, the life she deserved there. Outside the courthouse, there was crisp and filled with the muted sounds of the city. Emma approached, her voice trembling. I lost everything, she whispered, tears swelling in her eyes. Blake won't return MOI calls. MOI friends know everything. MOI parents are ashamed. And now, MOI daughter. Lucas looked at her calmly, which is ich presión steady. I never wanted to destroy you, Emma. I only wanted to protect Lily. She is a priority. Tears streamed down Emma's face. I do love her. I want to be better. Lucas nodded slowly. Take the classes. Go to therapy. Understand why you so appreciate what you hit. Maybe someday Lily will have a mother who is actually present. Until then, she said. Later that evening, Lucas picked up Lily from H.S. Mather's house. Her backpack bounced as she ran toward him. Her enthusiasm unbroke iron. Daddy, Grandma taught me to make chocolate chip cookies. Did she? He asked, crashing to her level. The best, she replied, then paused, very serious. Is Mommy okay? Lucas hugged her tightly. Mommy made some choices that hurt our family. She's going to work on being better. But you know what? You're going to be just fine. You've got people who love you so much. Especially me. Her arms wrapped round Toich's neck, and in that embrace, Lucas felt the first true sense of peace in months. The chats, the betrayal, the courtroom battles they had all led to this moment of clarity and purpose. He realized that the happening of that room that night had not ended with his life. I think it begun a new chapter, one defined by truth, prisons, and the unconditional love between father and daughter. Lucas' Hale had survived the storm. Now, she was building something real, something lasting, something that could never be undermined by deception again. The months that followed were quite deceptively ordinary, not the kind of confined in novels or movies, or resolute and rise with a single dramatic story. This was granular, built from the small, deliberate steps Lucas Hale took to reclaim his life and tribute his doctor's word. The apartment he now lived in felt both familiar and new. The walls had been repainted a soft, neutral shade that welcomed light instead of reflecting it harshly. Furniture was funzional, chosen deliberately rather than impulsively. Photographs of landscapes replaced family portraits, a bridge under construction here, a foggy forest there. They were reminders of structure, persistence, patience lessons he had learned painfully. The drawers had been finalized with minimal fanfare. A plain envelope in the mail contained the documents, crisp and not diamond. No courtroom chair tricks this time. No bitter last words. Lucas had expected an emotional torrent upon signing, perhaps rage or despair. Instead, he felt neutral, almost serene. The ordeal was over. The betrayal was over. What remained was the quiet work of living, of nurturing his daughter, and of becoming the father she deserved. Work had become a disaster. The sustainable housing project downtown was consuming, challenging, and immersive. The logistics of permits, zoning regulations, and architectural reviews left no room for lingering on the past. The teams he led depended on him, and he depended on their diligence. Physical exhaustion replaced emotional exhaustion. Sleep came with a sigh of relief rather than a resource churn of actives. He had declined at impetus to set him up, politely but firmly. Not yet, he would say, because he wasn't ready to feel a fight with someone else. He wanted to be whole on edges before attempting intimacy again. Fragments of Emma's positive life reached him intermittently. She had returned to her fat care circulating firm, taken a small studio apartment, and was in therapy. Nothing gourmand, nothing spectacular. Just survival. He felt no pleasure in this knowledge schadenfreude, but merely a detached recognition of consequences. Blake Hoffman had moved cities. His career faltered, and his marriage, too, collapsed. Lucas felt a mile to Sydney's for the little damage. Helen and her children, caught in the wake of selfish choices, deserved their better. One crisp morning, a letter arrived there. Written in Emma's familiar script. Lucas almost discarded it unappended, but curiosity, and perhaps a measure of current politeness, compelled him to read it. The letter was not an apology, not exactly. It was resignation, late and grudging, of her selfishness and the life she had affected. She admitted that her offer was not about love or passion, but about desire for attention, excitement, and validation. Her words were honest, unvarnished, and painful in their clarity. She understood the destruction she had caused, particularly to the man who had loved her faithfully. Lucas read the letter twice, then set it aside, not as a weapon, not as a trophy, simply as closure. Forgiveness wasn't necessary, understanding was. The following weekend, Lucas took Lily on a hike with his brother, Marcus, and his family. The trail meandered through autumnal woods, leaves crunching underfoot, the crisp air filling their lungs. The children ran ahead, shrieking and laughing, chasing the howling leaves. "You seem better," Marcus observed. "I am," Lucas replied. "Ready to date yet?" "Maybe," Lucas answered, surprising himself with the ease of the word. They reached a clearing that overlooked the city, now a small, manageable patch of buildings in the distance. Lucas allowed himself a rare moment to reflect. The past year had been a crucial battle, betrayal, heartbreak, legal battles, and sleepless nights. It had also been a teacher. He understood now that walking through was not weakness, that silence could be a tool of immense power, and that refusing to carry the weight of someone else's guilt could be transformative. Some revenge is not fiery or vengeful. Some revenge is quiet. It is absence. It is letting the consequences of choices unfold naturally. Lily's small voice called out from her head. "Uncle Lucas, come see this rock we found." He smiled, letting himself be drawn forward, toward family, toward life, toward moments that could never be stolen by deceit. The storm had passed. The rebuilding continued, and for the first time in months, he felt whole. Back at the apartment, he prepared dinner with Lily's help, letting her measure ingredients and stir bath. Her laughter echoed through the kitchen, a lightness Lucas had forgotten existed. Every small ritual, reading bedtime stories, brushing hair, taking her in was now secret, above against the harshness of past betrayals. Sometimes he thought of Emma. Sometimes he considered Blake. But their presence in each mind no longer came with fury or obsession. It came with resignation. Their choices had consequences. Each's choices now built stability. Lucas allowed himself small indulgences, a book read in silence, a walk along the river, a quiet cup of coffee on the balcony while Lily played nearby. He realized that happiness wasn't dramatic. It wasn't newsworthy. It was persistent. It was quiet, deliberate, chattering each day. Months later, he noticed how far he had come. The apartment reflected him now, clean, intentional, serene. He had replaced reminders of laws with landscapes, personal achievements, and memories that belonged solely to him and his doubt. There were papers, letters, and receipts had been filed through, no longer instruments of pain, but archives of lessons learned. Lucas understood now that true strength did not lie in confrontation, but in consistency. Presence mattered more than passion. Integrity mattered more than desire. And love, real love, was about showing up every single day, with or fail. One evening, as autumn deepened into winter, he tucked Lily into bed, her tiny hand in his, as heavy with sleep. "Good night, Daddy," she whispered. "Good night, my star," he replied, brushing her hair back gently. He watched her drift into dreams, the nightlight casting soft patterns across the ceiling. She felt a proving gratitude for this life he was now building, a life of honesty, presence, and unconditional love. The betrayal had been catastrophic, but it had also been a pivot, a lesson in discernment, resilience, and true priorities. Lucas Hale had survived there. Not unscared, but stronger, wiser, present, and with each quiet moment, is gently of each's daughter, he rebuilt a life that na deceit could touch. Sometimes the most shocking decisions here ain't about wingens day or about protection, about ensuring the innocent thrive there, about creating a future grounded in truth. And Lucas had done exactly that. The storm had passed, the rebuilding continued, and that he realized was more than enough.